Okay, so I'm gonna do just a really quick color study of the landscapes I've been doing with the example that you kind of were curious about. So having some mountains in the background and some greenery, cactus up towards the front. So I'm just gonna move really quickly through my process so this video isn't really long and you can hopefully get the general idea of my method. And if you have any questions, hopefully I can answer them. And hopefully also this won't be too awkward because I've never really verbalized my process out loud while videotaping. So I have my blues here, a couple different colors, a green, a white, and my Payne's gray, which I use as like my darkest tone to mix in with my colors. So what I will typically start off with is just really rough sketching out kind of where my horizon line will be, and maybe some like texture up in here, some movement, where I want some mountains maybe, really loose because it's gonna get all played with. And then I start with my sky typically. So I'll do kind of a white wash with maybe a little bit of blue, mix it in here. And I'll move through, because this is watercolor paper, it is gonna absorb the liquid quickly and allow me to have really loose washes that I can go back in and add maybe a little bit, some darker. That's a little too blue. And I'm gonna go in with my mountains, starting to get that definition, those visual lines, and I'm just gonna kind of work that color down into my foreground. And also I like this color, so I'm gonna kind of just, since this is pretty wet still, I can move in with my brush and it's gonna create a nice light background wash color. And I like this now as kind of will be my dark shadow area, so I'm gonna go in some more blues, create some definition in my foreground. And I have typically right now been moving across the page, and I did get my paper really wet and I didn't tape it down first for this, so it's gonna bubble a little bit. But here is when I will typically start moving in with different brush patterns to start gaining some definition of maybe the grass or the movement of the hill, whatever you're envisioning right now. And whatever brush you also pick is gonna help with that. So I kind of have this blue-green going on, and I'm really liking that right now, so I'm gonna come in and add So right now I'm just working through adding depth to my painting. So I'm going back in and kind of remembering where I drew in that horizon line. So I want my eye to be drawn to that. Crisscrossing down in here, adding some texture, imagining maybe some grass or just how the earth dips down and creates shadow spots, rocks, all different things are playing in my mind. I don't always have a specific picture to go off of. I like to kind of incorporate all of the different landscapes that I've seen over time to tell a broader picture, but that's just my process. You can do whatever works for you. That's the best part about this. If it helps you have a picture to kind of go off of, I recommend taking your own photos so you are pulling from your own memories, not stealing from somebody else's. There we go. So I love using these flat brushes, so I'm gonna come in with this smaller one, and I like this light highlights in here, so I'm just gonna go in, and now, yes, this is watercolor paper, so it's absorbed. See these light washes kind of in my sky, but now as it is taken on paint and water and it's starting to dry, and I can go in with my paint and it's going to create more of a textured layer look because it already has paint that is absorbed onto its surface. So I have a pretty limited color palette right now I'm working with, but if you aren't mixing your paints together, I feel like you're missing out, because you can come up with so many different color combinations using a really limited color palette by just adding whites, blacks, or grays to create different tones and shades. I think it is the best part. So now that my sky has dried a little bit, I'm gonna go in and allow this to settle and dry. And I'm gonna work in my sky, add some maybe clouds, just a little. Okay, so now this has had a chance to dry a little bit, and we were talking about maybe like a cactus or something. So I think, because visually my eye is being drawn here, this is where my sky's kind of has a focus point on, and then it's being drawn down. So I am going to put my cactus, I think, up in this kind of corner. So I'm gonna start with some darker tones. And it is just gonna be, it is not gonna be realistic. I am all about just envisioning something different. Sorry, my mind just kind of went somewhere else. So I'm gonna add some highlights here. Maybe adding a little bit more here. So I would kind of liking this white, imagining like a little flower on top of a cactus. Needs a little bit more shadow. It's kind of hiding or blending into the background. So I'm gonna let that sit for a minute. All right, so this is definitely not finished. So usually I will let this dry for a while and then come in with a smaller brush or whatever brush you like, and add, just think about the highlights and the shadows. So go in and add, so right now I'm just gonna use my white and a little of my light blue and go in and pick up on where I already was working on showcasing those highlights. And just using a smaller brush or even a bigger brush, it's just gonna even more so draw your eye to where you want it to go. Okay, so I'm not finished, but I think that that is a good enough amount of information, hopefully, for you. And if you have any questions, I would love to hear your feedback. And hopefully I don't sound too crazy.